All right, party people. I'm here with another edition of a GSD Student Spotlight. I got my main man, David Mason, in the house that he's going to be sharing his experience, and we're going to be going over the before, the during, the after of what the GSD has been able to do for him. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. So David, why don't you kind of tell people what it is you do and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. David Mason. Like most of you, like your digital marketer, looking to scale. Came in right shy of around, that 100K a year, and was looking for some accountability. So when I first got intro to you guys, it was through the Perfect Stranger webinar that you guys did a while back. And I have in my notes somewhere, you did this awesome vision work where we took where we are now, what our income was, where we wanted to be in like a year or something. And then we did the math. And so it was very clear to me, like you knew how to kind of break things down and chunk things into actionable items. I'm like, all right, legit. So then I got a call on, I think it was John or Matt. I can't remember the guy you had back in, he was in like South Africa or something. I was like, okay, I'm not ready for this program right now. I'm right in the middle of this other big one. And then you and Cody got on a one-on-one coaching call with me that I paid for. And you were like, okay, cool. Show me your shit. Like, what do you got? Like, walk me through your system, walk me through your signature service. I show you all this stuff. And you're like, well, like if you hate doing pay-per-click and it doesn't like make you any money, like don't do it. Outsource it. I'm just like, okay, yeah, this is like a total no-brainer that in that moment, it took you 2 seconds. It was something that was causing me grief, anxiety, heartburn, and all this stuff in like a super quick call. You're like, well, then don't do that. I'm like, well, yeah, well, duh. So that was kind of an aha moment for me. I'm like, all right, cool. Like if I can get these kind of quick wins in an hour call, like what else could you guys have for me like down the road? And so that's when I decided then that I was going to invest and move forward with you guys. So it's been an awesome process so far. It's a pretty awesome community, and just been having a good experience.
That's amazing. And that's what we strive for. We want each person to have a unique, customized experience within the GSD. So you don't feel like this is just a bunch of bodies shoveled in with coaches that are just trying to monetize a program and then screenshot stuff. So that's really kind of the secondary benefit is the revenue that comes from it. The primary is showing a unique approach to coaching each individual based on where their stages are, whether they're brand new or like you're experienced, but you wanted more, or somebody who's already at 7 figures and trying to get to the next level. So that's kind of what Cody and I kind of decided to do in this is how do we give everybody a customized approach so that they can get the results, so they feel like they're the only person in the room. And one of the first things I say is when people enroll into the GSD is I want you to be the most selfish motherfucker on the planet. When you're on the calls, raise your hand. Who cares about anybody else? Use this time as your own, because the benefit to everybody else is they get answers too, but then it makes everybody participate. Because as you know, when we do our 1 hour, 5 day a week calls, those calls can go 3 hours sometimes. I mean, it's not unaccustomed of us to go 6 or 7 hours in one sitting too. I mean, we've broken some time records over time.
Yeah, dude, that was super impressive to me. Like, holy shit. Like, because, I've been through a few programs. I think I'm in like program 4 or 5, and like, it's hard stops. Like if it's a 90-minute call, like, cool. Like if you got a question and you got to wait for, 5 other people to kind of do their chit chat through, and there's 10 minutes left at the end, and you have a detailed question, your question's getting answered in that 5 minutes. All right, see you guys later. I'm off to my next call. And it's just like, that is not the case with you guys. You guys you do the breakout sessions, which is really awesome. So I know like you and Cody will, like he'll hand off to you and you'll stay in the room with us and you'll kind of take over whatever. And then Cody will go one-on-one or with 1 to 3 with who's ever got the similar kind of problem. So the breakout sessions is really awesome. And I think that's a really powerful combination you guys have going as a team. So you and Cody as a team and as partners have a serious leg up over like other coaches who like it's them and maybe they have other team members. And my experience has been, cool, I get the main coach. I may see that main coach once a week on his one call. Then he'll have his other kind of head coach do another call, or they'll have other specialty coaches, right? So maybe it's a systems coach or a tech coach, or it's a whatever, where you go in and get those specific category of questions answered, but it's one coach, meaning there's no breakout session. So if you got 30 people on a freaking call and you're in line at like 15, you guys can get through those numbers way faster in more detail and scope, in depth rather than you can if it's like just you on a coaching call and now we're all kind of waiting to get our questions answered. So that's
no, I appreciate that. And that brings up a good point, because like it's unique where like somebody has a program and the coaches that sell the program actually show up for the coaching. So that's one thing that I've had a bad taste in my mouth in the past. So we didn't want to give that experience. But yeah, time is not our issue. We make the time. So we always want to support you and your growth. And I mean, your goals are ours. So, I mean, that sounds corny or whatnot, but it's the truth, because we need you to be better you, because then when you make more money, you can hire more people, make those people even better. But then it's also selfish of us. So we can do videos like this because you've had 2 record-breaking months in Q4. There's only 3 months in a quarter, guys. So David's had 2 record-breaking months when, quote unquote, people are taking vacation, people are taking time off. But I mean, when you GSD, you get shit done, and that's the outcome. But before we touch on those record-breaking months, you mentioned something to me earlier before we hit the record button about the community, about the inspiration it has. Can you kind of touch on that for a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, part of me, we get into the whole like guilt and shame thing where you're like, oh, I'm a piece of shit because I'm not showing up to the calls, or, oh, I'm a piece of shit because I'm not as far ahead as someone else. And like, I quit playing that game pretty recently, like probably like the last 3 months, which is another, let's touch in on John. You guys introduced me to him. I mean, the value I've gotten through you guys, through him, has been massive. Just like the network, I guess what I'm hitting at here is like the network you've introduced me to through your program has been pretty life-changing. But when I first came in, I was like, holy shit, like these guys showed up, they did the thing, they've literally taken the playbook that you've handed them, and that's their business. You basically hand $1 million business to people when you roll in, if you do the work. Like if you do the grind, you do it exactly as you guys say, you show up to the calls, you iterate, you reflect, you do the work, like you can get it done. So between Ty and Mason, Alvin's freaking crushing it. I mean, those 3 voices in the community are like pretty inspirational. And then, human instinct or my human gut reaction is like, oh, well, that's them. That can't happen to me, which is total bullshit, because they just showed up, followed the playbook that you guys handed them. And, here they are having record month after record month. So everyone's super cool, like super helpful. Brendan Barth, I've had a couple calls with him. Mike, I can't recall that guy's last name. Just, when you invest in these programs, you're surrounded by like-minded people who have similar goals. Everyone shares. I haven't run into any, like, for lack of better words, like douchebaggery where people are trying to scam me or like, be shady in any way. So no, it's been a really solid community.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, the community is kind of the unknown component of what it's like to be in the GSD, because you mentioned like we're selective on who comes in. So we don't do a come one, come all. We're a different kind of sales force, if you will. We want to make sure that the people that do come in can not only add value to themselves, we can add value to them, but they can add value to the community. Because like you mentioned, like, I mean, there's people that are like friends for life now. They're going to weddings, hanging out, drinking beers, going on vacations together. So that was kind of like the it just appeared as part of the community. It wasn't part of like our presentation of like, hey, you get like-minded people, but heck, that's a huge value that you can get that wolf pack that we've created, where we podded, like created these pods where it's like, not only you get the unlimited coaching, the online access, the group chat, the group support, the accountability check-ins and all that kind of good stuff and videos like this. But then we went a layer further and created these wolf packs where it's like team up with 3 to 4 people. You're in similar states and people above you, and get that necessary reps that you need, whether it's delivery, standard operating procedures, role playing is a big one. Because we touched on sales. We touched on sales a lot. I mean, how much more confident do you feel like going into like handling objections or your sales process now?
So I'm way more confident now after just like literally absorbing and taking notes on you talking through how you handle objections. Why? Well, why is that? Tell me more about that. Tell me more about this. Just asking why. You get to the root problem and I get wins. So I'm winning now because I'm not letting people off the hook. And the reason I'm not letting people off the hook is because I'm not afraid of being rejected. Like, I don't care if they say no or whatever. I'm being respectful, but I'm also not just being like, oh, you said no, you're not interested. Cool. All right, I'll talk to you later. It's like, no, like, this is really good for you. We're going to deliver you an awesome result. And here you go. And so in reaching out to current clients, prospects, opportunities, et cetera, through with that lens or that mindset, I've been able to close a lot more deals.
Yeah, detaching yourself from the outcome is one of the most important things. And I mean, luckily for me, out of college, when I like left college early to go pursue a career, really, my first sales coach, that was the very first thing he taught. And it's like, you can't lose a sale you never had. And the interpretation really meant don't detach yourself to the outcome, because then you're going to be desperate, needy. Yep. And then you're going to only zone in on that one opportunity and never create that abundance mindset. So that's what I've been blessed with as an earlier on. Now, had I learned it now, then I'd be using this point forward as that beneficiary of that advice. But then it takes relentless practice, role play, testing, tonality. There's a lot of nuances to continuously get those micro improvements, just like an athlete would. Like the athlete will start off shooting baskets, then they'll do layups, then they'll do fancy dunks and 360s. But in order to even get to that level, to get fancy, you got to do what's boring, the simple stuff over and over again until you can't get it wrong. That's when you can start to take more risks. And when you take more risks, then it becomes the new norm. So same thing with sales. That's really kind of the best analogy that I kind of teach people on, is just keep practicing the boring, because that's what actually gets the result. The fancy, that's where we rely on like less probability of success, but it can also turn into luck because we're prepared.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, can I share a quick example of like not being attached and kind of like dealing with objection?
There's nothing more than I'd love than hearing this.
Okay. So current client did a sales funnel for her, a book a call funnel, and just in that, setting up this automation, creating some copy for her, getting her on, all the CRM, we're able to get her 15 new therapy clients. And I was doing coaching with her too, like biz coaching with her. And so she's like, I have to stop the business coaching. I'm too full. I can't keep up. I'll circle back. Great. So she circles back after like having record whatever. And she's like, I want a waitlist funnel, and a e-course funnel. So cool. Get me a quote for that. I did that, have a call, gonna go pretty confident it's a done deal, but I'm not attached to it. I'm like, yeah, this is actually $250 more than the last thing I quoted you, because I was in a different place then. And now I had more time then, I have less time now. And so I'm going to just straight up charge more. Plus the value is you get one client from this total investment and you've recouped it. All that to say, she's now, we're having the second follow-up call, and she's wanting to be like, well, can I just pay you for like the waitlist funnel and then pay you for the other one in the end, like in the new year? I'm just like, what purpose is that going to do? Are you do you want to move forward or not? Like, do you want to retain me or not? Because where I'm at right now is I'm getting really busy. You could, I guess, if you really, really are concerned, like pay me this little piece and we'll hand it off. But then if I get busy, you know, which I have a bunch in the pipeline, she's like, okay, well, can I do this and that? I'm like, typically, like if I do retainer, it's 75% and it's for much bigger jobs. And she's just kind of like, all right, take my money. And I didn't have to send her an invoice. Nothing. She's like, I'm like, you're cool with me running the card for the 1850 on this tonight and we'll get you on board tomorrow. She's like, great. I'm like, awesome. I got to step out the door, but I'll run that tonight. Great. So without sending an invoice, without sending any additional paperwork or whatever, I literally ran her card through Stripe for 1850. And then send her an email saying, hey, here's the invoice confirmation ID in the email thread that gave her the initial scope of work for this new work. Done. So in being like, what's the problem here? And hearing myself like talk about how I handled it much better than I just explained it. I can tell you that because it was just like kind of like what would Rahul say, yeah. It's enabled me to help my clients deal with their client objections. She's come to me for advice for how to deal with objections from her clients. And it's been awesome. So it trickles down. So it helps me get more sales and helps my clients get more sales, which keeps them busy to give me more of their money. So
that's incredible because it allows you to then also charge them more money, like you just described, and upsells, cross sells, and also just like you're busy, right? So, I mean, now you've created that priority, the demand, and people are recognizing it because if your service is working and you're getting them that kind of business, why else in the world would they even take a risk to try to find somebody that can even come close to those results, right? Yeah. So now you've become so sticky in that business that you essentially are irreplaceable, right?
Yeah. Like I have her on SaaS. So I have her monthly retainer on SaaS. She is going to be a long-term recurring client for business development and coaching and funnel builds or whatever, like marketing strategy and like here's how to optimize stuff in your business. So it's been awesome, man.
Like what kind of how do you feel inside in your heart, like before working with us, myself, Cody, and the team? How are you feeling then and how do you feel now, like inside yourself, like confidence wise, personality wise, and where you're going into the future?
That's a really good question. I mean, one of my targets, I guess I'm working on, or a charge that I'm working on, is kind of feelings of like guilt or disappointment around not delivering quite the results that you anticipated or thought you would. And a simple solution to that is, well, keep working till you get the results you said you were going to get. So having you guys reaffirm, confirm cool serendipities, kind of just reinforcing the things that I've learned, both inside and outside of the program, has been pretty huge in terms of me feeling like at this point, I feel like I can kind of handle anything. Things are just flowing now. Things are really good.
That's awesome. So what would you say to somebody who is running a business, like a marketing agency, a coach, a consultant, a sales pro? What would you tell them about the GSD?
I had a big proposal coming up. I proposed a $45K deal. And I was like, this is going to be the biggest proposal, ever. And you're like, you just help walk me through the process. So do you want to get really good at Facebook ads and pay-per-click? I mean, Cody's the man when it comes to that. I will say this, that through the people I've met, through the opportunities I've pursued because of the mindset that I now have, because I've met you guys and other people through you guys, I'm pretty convinced I've recouped my investment and it's all profit from here. The group coaching is legit. The community in Messenger is pretty impressive. People are like active in that thread, man, like all the time. you get a question, you post it in there, someone's going to get to you. You've been personally available to like answer calls for me. Ben's been right there. The sales and role play calls are awesome.
If you like earlier you described like $1 million business, like what would you say the value is of all the resources, all the content, all the access would be if you had to put a price on it?
I just saw a training where it was a 3-hour mastermind. They're charging $2,000 for that 3-hour mastermind. You know, it's a recorded thing. They put it in a courseware. It's $2,000 for this. Cool. Is there follow-up coaching for that? Is there a group? Is there a community? Is there like, do you get their ear? No, but it's $2,000. So, I mean, how many of those you have in the GSD program? Fuck, man, probably 20. I don't know. So let's just say that those numbers right there, you probably got 22K. So that's $40,000 in courses, I guess, that you would have sitting in there. And then you get access to 3 or 4 weekly coaching calls plus the group access. Five days a week. So that's $5,000 right there. Like, it's ridiculous.
So the value is there is what we're getting at. And it's probably like based on your math, it's probably going beyond 6 figures. But let me ask you this, because this isn't your first rodeo. This is not your first coaching session. This is not your first program or resource you've gained access to. Right. Like, how would you compare the GSD to what you've done in the past?
I think the expertise that you guys have in terms of what you know, the information you can share, and how you present that information is world class. Not everyone who knows how to do X can fucking teach X worth of shit. So what I've seen in a lot of circles is like, cool, I'm a guru. I know these things. I know marketing. I know how to do X, Y, Z, but that doesn't mean you know how to like teach it. It doesn't mean you know how to transfer that knowledge from your skull to my skull in a way that is effective, clear, free of frustration and all that kind of stuff. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't feel rushed. I feel like you listen and you think through the question. You make sure you clear and you repeat, you pare it back, which is huge. You're like, so let me get this right. So what I'm hearing you ask me is X, Y, Z. I feel like you're listening to me. I know that you're listening to me. And then you go through and you answer the question. I don't ever feel like I'm being rushed or pushed to meet a 90-minute time block to do a group coaching call with 20 people on a call.
Yeah, like we think no man or woman left behind. That's why we have these time blocks. But essentially, like I mentioned before, if it takes 3 hours, it takes 3 hours. If it takes 2, it takes 2. If it takes 6, it takes 6. So everybody has to leave with value and be better the next day, because there's nothing worse in the world than going into tomorrow being no better than you are today. So that's our whole methodology behind it. And like kind of our mission is make people always better. Like get them the income that they want so that they can live the freedom that they deserve.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on and spending your precious time as well, man. So I know you have family stuff, you got holidays, we got both are paired together when it comes to last minute shopping. So hopefully Amazon doesn't disappoint us because we procrastinated a little bit. But the good part about it is that when you are late to giving gifts, it's almost like finding $20 in your jeans when you give it to a kid. It's like, oh my God, Santa left, but oh no, Santa came on the 27th too. So your present can technically be a little bit more memorable. And that's what we teach in the GSD. Get creative, make benefits, and make it their idea. So David, thank you so much.
I love it.
Yep.
Oh yeah, my pleasure.
Awesome, brother. Well, I'll see you on the next coaching call, which is coming up in less than 3 hours.
All right. Sounds great, man.
Cheers, brother. Thanks, man.
Okay. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.